going to high school. Then became my minister throughout my high school, and he was transferred when I was in my second year.
That's a long time, 11 years.
Yes.
I was anticipating because during those times when we still had the Presbyterial CYC regional, that's when most people met their spouses.
Yes.
I thought you would say one of the things you loved about your youth ministry was...
You are very right. You are very right. When I was... When I was the parish youth secretary in Ihororo, there was also another lady who was a member of the parish youth. She happened to have been behind me in high school, but I never got to know her quite well. But then we met in the parish youth committee, and she eventually became my wife.
Oh, you were the chairman?
I was the secretary of the parish youth and
Presbyterian youth. She was a member?
She was a member of the parish youth committee.
So by minutes of the youth council,
yes,
we got a box. All right. And many years later?
Many years later, now we are in the ministry. And thanking God for that.
We praise God.
And His faithfulness.
Yes. Fantastic. Now, you go to the youth, you serve in the youth. Then, at what point do you get into the holy ministry? When
I was in high school, and especially in my A-level, I used to admire the Reverend John Foro. And the way he approached matters of ministry and interaction with the people. And I could feel that I would want, when I grow up, I would want to be like this man. And I started preparing. I could actually talk about it. That, funny enough, the first time I felt that I would want to be in the ministry was I was in Form 2. I was not even saved. But I was feeling that I want to be like this man. But thereafter, I went and shared with him at some point when I joined the Kenya Water Institute. I went and shared with him that I feel called to join the ordained ministry. He told me what became very important to my foundational ministry when he told me that, yes, it's very important for people to join the ministry, and I after looking at your work here, I can for sure say that you can make a very good minister. However, I would advise you to finish your diploma at Kenya Water Institute, and if possible, work in the secular world for some few years. Get to understand the people that you are going to serve out there, what they do in the secular world, so that when you are ministering to them, you already know where they are coming from and what they are experiencing on a daily basis before they come to church on Sunday. And at first I felt, no, this is not what I wanted. I wanted to be in the ministry. But then eventually I continued with my studies, and after graduation, I had thought that I would work for the Kenya government for 5 years. But when I graduated from Kenya Water Institute and they posted me to Kisii, I became disconnected with the youth group. I would come at least once a month, but I was feeling that I'm very, very far away. In Kisii, and I was in the interior of Kisii, the Kisii district at a place called Kenyanya. When I was there were, I think 85% were Seventh-day Adventists, and the rest were Catholics. And I was feeling out of place.
You didn't like the SDA music?
No, it was not really about the music.
Oh, you were
the
used
issue
to
was
the
about
drum,
worshiping on Saturdays and not on Sunday. So
and taking tea without tea leaves.
Yes, all those rules. So when I thought about it, and I felt I had said I would work for the Kenya government for 5 years. I tried to be patient. I could not. So after 2 years, I resigned.
Wow.
And then when I resigned, they thought that I'm resigning because they have refused to transfer me to Central Province. When they got my letter of resignation, I was transferred to Central Province. But by then I had already decided I was ready for the interviews. So the same April 1993, when I was going for the interviews, is the same April that I was transferred from Kisii to Nyeri.
So how many times did you do the interviews for the Holy Ministry?
Only once.
What?
Yes.
So what special thing did you do? Because the history for many ministers is...
I don't know. I did. The first time I applied to join the ordained ministry.
And do you want to tell us your call was so evident that you convinced the panel the first time?
I don't know. I faced the panel, the session, I faced the presbytery, I faced the training committee. And I did it only once. The first time, and I was admitted to St. Paul's.
Allah.
Yes.
I mean, there are not many ministers with such a history.
I know.
Some have done 4, 5.
But I was actually, the youth work prepared me a lot, and I had actually become a very public person. At the whole of Mount Kenya region, I was known as a youth leader. Yes.
So already you are the work.
Yes. Even today when I go to my home parish, Ihororo and Thata, people will still call me Karimi Mumbui.
Even though now you belong to PCM.
Yes. Yes.
And legends.
Yes, they still call me Karimi Mumbui.
Okay,
yes.
So in effect saying that because the young people these days are complaining a lot that many have attempted interviews and they are not picked. You could say, I am that example, that indeed you can do with the first one,
yes,
and you picked the first one.
Yes.
So you go to St. Paul's? Oh, sorry.
Yes, I was saying, but you see, I had to prove through my work in the church.
Even before?
Even before, that everybody, even the presbytery knew me. So that when I went for the interview, they were not dealing with somebody that they did not know.
A stranger.
So it's good for us to be rooted in the church before you can even think about joining the ministry.
So in other words, they had already interviewed you even without interviewing?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So you do the Holy Ministry interviews, you go to St. Paul's?
So I went to St. Paul's, and it was during my second year in St. Paul's that we got married. So, and then after that I was posted to Lali Parish in the then Rimuru Presbytery.
Cold place.
A very cold place. That is where our son was born. But funny enough, I was in Rari for only 5 months. I could be the only student minister who was transferred before his practical year.
Why now?
There were some problems in Nakuru West parish, problems that were actually all over the newspapers. There were conflicts. And I don't know why the then moderator, Mwindi, thought that I would be the best suited person to go and handle the crisis in Nakuru West.
The newest bloom cleans the sweepers.
Yes.
The sweeps the cleanest.
So I went to Nakuru West in a very funny manner, because the members had a conflict with the presbytery, and the members of the presbytery could not get into the parish. So when by the way, even when I was posted there, it was so funny because I received a note that I should never be introduced there. They don't want to receive me there. So on Sunday morning, we are leaving the manse. Before I leave the manse to go to the vestry for the English service, there's a huge group that is worshipping under the tree. And we are going to the sanctuary with another group that is involved in the English service. And when before I left the house, my wife asked me, "Are we going to sing?" I told her, "We have not even been received here. We don't even know what is going to happen. How can we say that we are going to sing?" Wacha tuone. As I was stepping out of the door, I saw a friar. Says, "We are already aware that the student minister is already here against our demand. Any attempt to introduce him to the congregation will be a provocation." Way. So that is how I was introduced. And you know, the presbytery, because the presbytery could not step there, I was not brought by the presbytery. So I went to the vestry. I folded the paper. We went to the vestry. We started the English service. It went on well. I just said hi to the people. I never introduced myself. We coming back to the vestry with the procession. The elders of the whole parish were there. It wasn't supposed to be a parish service, but all the elders were in the vestry. So when we got in, they were holding the same papers, but they hid them when they saw me. And now the elders went into an argument. So who is going to introduce the minister? Because there was no minister from the presbytery who could get in there. And the chairman of the finance then says, "This is not a parish service, so it will be done by the chairman of the local congregation." But the chairman says, "No, it should be the session clerk." No. Then all the elders agreed that the chairman of the local congregation should do that. And you know,
and you're just there watching
I'm just there watching this drama. My coming here was a drama. My transfer was a drama. And now I'm here, and even the elders don't want to be associated with me. So we went to the service. And the chairman of the local congregation was leading the service. I was sitting right next to him. And when it came to the movement of choirs, there was no choir. But the church was packed. Even some people were outside. And because there was no choir, it occurred to me this is a congregation with very high population of young people, and there is no choir.
Yeah.
So because there was no choir, then he said, then we invite the registrar to make the announcement. As the registrar was making the announcement, I whispered to the chairman, rather than introduce me, tell the members that there was somebody who wanted to sing, but we forgot. And after the announcement, he said, oh, there is somebody forgot, he wanted to sing, let us give him a chance to sing. So I stood up. And I said, my wife is somewhere, can you come? So she came. And I had selected a song that we would sing without notes. And I said, my name is Karimi and this is Shomith, and we are the ones that are residing in that, house. In the months, in that house. Definitely, who else resides there? You know, I'm a student. So we sang, and when we sang the song, the people clapped.
Score one.
And the service continued. And then after service, the same group met under the tree. And then it became a Tower of Babel. He was not introduced, and the others are saying, and some of you clapped when he sang the song. We did not clap because of him, because it is because of the song. And then they became divided. They said, hatukuona kani mtu mbaya. Why don't we give him a chance? Tuone. So they said, we are going to give him a chance, but no minister will ever come here to train him. So I stayed in the parish. And God helped us to do a lot of work unifying
So at what point, with you being posted to Nakuru, are you already ordained?
No.
Even licensed?
No. Eish. I'm not. It was in the middle of my training here. So now we worked and worked and worked. The most surprising thing is that I was the first in our class to be licensed and ordained.
Even with all these
troubles. All
that
mess. Because when the parish settled down, the people demanded that the Karimi be ordained and stays here. So after interviews with the Presbytery and the training committee, the same was said by the Presbytery and the training committee. By the session at the Presbytery and the training committee. If Karimi leaves Nakuru West, we will go back to the same problem. So I was ordained and stayed in that parish for another 4 years. Yes.
And it was a fruitful ministry.
Oh, I really thank God. Even today I consider Nakuru West to be home. And those people are still my friends. Yes, yes. So we did that work, and Nakuru West was united by the time we left there. But then again, my transfer from Nakuru West was also a problem. Because it was caused by the crisis. I was a crack of the Presbytery, and there was some crisis in Dr. Ada. And somebody, through their own wisdom, thought that because I'm the crack of the Presbytery, I have the record of Dr. Ada, and it's not going to be good for some people. So I was transferred to save.
To save some people.
Some people. Now the problem was, my wife was a teacher. We are in the Rift Valley. It's during the Moi era. During the Moi era, you could not transfer a teacher from Rift Valley to Central Province. And now I've been transferred. I pleaded and appealed for a reconsideration. It was not listened to. So I reported to Tomotomo. I am a young minister. I have to move my family from the parish manse to a rental house in Nakuru town. And nobody is paying for me. So I had to buy items for the family because we were in the manse and it was fully furnished. And it was not very easy. It was not very easy for us. But God is faithful. I was able to travel to the place every Sunday and come back to Tomotomo every Tuesday morning.
For the sake of love.
For the sake of love and for the sake of ministry.
So in Tomotomo you move in?
I moved into Tomotomo, and as I was doing ministry in Tomotomo, our son was in Jitegemea Nursery School in Nakuru West. So I could go on Sunday night. On Monday morning, I would take him to school. Afternoon, I would pick him from school. Tuesday morning, I would drop him to school and then go to Tomotomo. Every time I dropped him in the morning, he would ask me, Daddy, are you the one who is going to pick me up? I would tell him, Tutaona. So one day, I dropped him on a Tuesday morning. He asked me the same question, but I had to go to Tumutumu. So the mother was coming from school to pick him up, and then the mother, the boy looks at the mother, and asks, "Where is Daddy?" Or he went to work. The boy goes, "Mami, si utafute dadi mwingine ambaye hatakuwa kitutoroka."
Heartbreaking.
So that evening, my wife goes to a phone booth because there were no phones those days.
The red ones.
And he calls a neighbor so that I can go and pick the phone in the neighbor's house. We didn't have a phone in Tumutumu. And as I picked the phone, she was crying. It was so heartbreaking. And we agreed on one thing: we have to pray now for God's intervention. The PCA is not able to act. The government is not able to act. At some point, PCA had moved me back to Naivasha so that I can be near my family. But then the Tumutumu people refused with me. That was after 3 months. So I stayed in Tumutumu. So when we agreed to pray, I started looking for a school. I was given a contact of a particular school by my mentor, Rev.Dr. Moita, who was in the US then. I applied, and a year later we were in the US. God worked in miraculous ways. We could not stay together in the same house in Kenya. We went with the family to stay together in the US. Without a scholarship, and not through the PCA, private arrangement. So we went. And God provided, because I did not. That was the year 2001. We were not given tickets by the training committee, and because we had not informed the training committee that we were going. But God provided. We went to the family and.
It must have been a dynasty. If you can pay for your air ticket in the 2000.
Well, I had a car. I sold it. That it was ticketed for our tickets. Yes. Still, and God provided. Yes.
So you 2000 you go to the US.
Yes.
You go to school.
So I went to the US and did my master's at Central Baptist Theological Seminary in Kansas City. Then after that, when I was done with my master's, I enrolled for my doctoral studies at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But we used to live in Kansas City. I would drive to Tulsa in Oklahoma whenever we were required to be there for the 2 weeks during the semester for the class. Now, when I was leaving Tumutumu, there was a Rev.Dr. Nzioka, who was the minister in Nanyuki. We had just ordained him, and he was a young minister. So when I left Tumutumu, he tells me, "Now you leave me, and you are the only young minister in the presbytery. What am I going to do?" I told him, "When I get there, I'll look for a school for you." And we started the process with him, and he came to the same school the following year. So when he came with his family, that is when now we realized that there was a need that we could identify about with parents who are coming to visit their children, but all the services there were in English. So we started a Swahili-speaking service in Kansas, and we started the Nema Community Church. But then we didn't go very far, and when I realized there were two of my former members in Nakuru who were families that had relocated to Boston. And they started connection with me. They were telling me that if you come here, we would have an opportunity for ministry here. And there's a fellowship of Presbyterians that is starting here. So I went to explore the situation in Boston. By God's grace and sheer coincidence, the lady who was the elder in this fellowship that was starting was my classmate in A-level. So now we connected, and then after some few months we moved to Boston and founded the then Kenyan Community Presbyterian Church Ushidi. So I ministered there, and Nzioka was left in Kansas. Yes.
And the church in Boston thereafter, is it the same one as Nema?
Yes and no. Yes and no. The Ushidi Church grew. But then there are so many challenges that face ministry in diaspora. And now I have gone through a lot. During my ministry in the Boston, I've been taken to court twice. But to go back to what happened, so that we are no longer Ushidi, but we are now Nema. In the year 2006, 2007, there was the campaign to change the ordination standards of the Presbyterian Church of USA. And when I went to Boston, I did not transfer my membership to the presbytery there. I argued that I must retain my membership in Tomotomo Presbytery. So there is a clause in the Book of Order, the PP of the PCUSA, that you can have a dual membership. So I went for it. I became a dual member of that presbytery and the presbytery in Tomotomo. So in one of the presbytery meetings, the vote comes in, change the ordination standards so that we can allow even ordination of gay people into ministry and as ministers and even as elders. And then I stood in a presbytery. By the way, I was the only person of color, the only black person in that presbytery. And I stood in the presbytery and I vehemently opposed it.
Why now?
The issue of being in a presbytery that is voting to be ordaining such people, I said no. But then the vote went on. We were 51 members in the presbytery. I was the only negative vote. So it
50
went through.
plus versus 1.
Yes. So it went through. I said this will affect our relationship with you as a church. But then in the evening when I was sitting at home, I saw an email that came in. One of the ministers in the presbytery told me, you did something that some people will never forgive you. I asked him why. When you said what you said about those people, don't you know that the clerk of the presbytery is one of them? I said, no, I didn't know. And even if I knew, I would still have said what I said. Probably I would have toned down the language. So he told me this. I still have that email. That man is so vindictive that he'll never forgive you. Brace yourself for what is to come. And true to the fact,
a storm came.
A storm came. I was cardolized. And this cardle is even taken to the press. And the presbytery summons me. And they accuse me of that scandal. And they have the press people present. And then they say that they have suspended me for 6 months. And the following day, there are headlines in the newspapers. Pastor deposed.
Yet even it's just suspension. These 6 months.
Yes, but now people do not understand that. So I was not supposed to be in that church until the presbytery reviews my case and so many other conditions. I was cardolized. And there is nothing as bad as having negative reports about you in a place on daily.
No, let me ask.
Yes.
You're already a person of color.
Yes.
You're already dark.
Yes.
How much more dark were you?
There is grace. So, I took a back seat, decided to proceed on my reeve. After the 1 month reeve, I came back to church on that Sunday, and I preached. The second Sunday, the clerk of the presbytery sent 3 emissaries with a letter to say that I am not supposed to be there, and a quote-unquote restraining order that I should not get in there. But they came as we were receding from the service to the vestry. So when we were getting to the vestry, they got in. Then I got shocked. Who are these? And then I remembered them. The one that was reading was the chairman of the commission that quote unquote suspended me. So I realized there is a fight here. So I said a prayer, and then I said to the elders and the visitors, can we go to the office? And we leave the deacons here. When we went to the office, it was another drama. We are in the office, and I'm standing up and I'm telling them to sit down, and the guy, not the guy, he was a minister, does not want to sit down. I said, because it's a church meeting, you will sit down, I say a prayer, and then I'll give you a chance to speak. When I finished praying, he stood up. And he said, I told him, okay, it's also not just a church meeting, it's a Presbyterian meeting. Order demands that there cannot be two people standing at the same time. So let me finish what I'm going to say, and then I'll give you a chance to talk. And then he sat down. So I said, before I give you a chance to talk, I'm going to ask 3 questions. Question number 1, you are here. Did you tell the elders that you were coming? No, but we told so-and-so. They named another person there. They said, okay. Elders, did you know that these people were coming? No. Okay. Question number 2. It was in my office. Right behind the seat was a certificate of registration of the church. It was Kenyan Community Presbyterian Church, Ushindi. I told him to read this. I asked him, are you a member of the Kenyan community? No. Put it back. Final question. We worship in a rented building. And we have rented this building from a Jew by name Jack Perry. Do you have his express authority to be in here? No. And now you're bringing a restraining order for me not to be here, yet you're not supposed to be here. I got into my pocket and I was dialing 911. In the US, if you dial 911, the police are supposed to be there within 3 minutes. So they ran away. They ran away. They left the restraining order there and they ran away. They never came back there.
Afro cinema.
Yes. We continued to worship. The first attempt did not work. The second attempt to get me out was the presbytery clerk calling the head office. And he got the moderator then. And the moderator asked him, who gave you permission to... PC is a denomination by itself. We have ordination and discipline mechanisms. Who gave you permission to discipline our minister? And that was gone.
That's finished.
Yes.
There's no comeback there.
The next thing they did, I came to learn later, was to write a letter to the immigration department that I'm not supposed to be in that country because I came as a student and I am no longer a student. I came to learn about that way later. But the worst that they did when all those did not work was to take me to court. To block me from accessing, they wanted a restraining order from the judge so that I may not access the church. And I asked 2 questions. I started this church. We worship in Kikuyu. They don't speak Kikuyu. They were asked by the judge, do you speak Kikuyu? No. They have never come to that church to perform any ceremony. You go to the lease documents, to the registration documents of the church, they bear the name of Karimi. So who should not be there? And the judge said, you guys don't seem to be having a plan for an African language speaking congregation and you don't speak their language. So I'm not going to offer to give you the restraining order. And then they made another motion. The other motion was to argue that the church was under them, so they should freeze the accounts of the church. And so the judge accepted that the accounts of the church should be frozen until the case is determined. And so
how do you survive
the
now?
accounts were to be signed by the attorneys on both sides. So the wisdom of the attorney was that normal and regular bills are supposed to be paid, but my salary is not part of the normal and regular bills. But I purposed that I would not let them access the church. I served the church pro bono for 3 years and 4 months without salary. 3 years and 4 months. One morning I woke up, I went to the church, I preached, and gave benediction, and then I told the people, listen to me carefully. With effect from this coming Saturday, 22nd of March, 2014, Rev. Karimi will not be the minister of Ushidi Church. And I want to repeat that by saying, Rev. Karimi has given a notice of resignation with effect from Saturday. Don't ask me where I'll be worshiping, because there is a court case going on. I cannot interfere with the court case. Tonight I'm flying out to Kenya for a funeral of my aunt. I'll come back and you get to know where I worship. I came back on Saturday. I had talked to the same landlord because the next space had been vacated. So I looked for 2-3 people. We rented seats, and the following Saturday we came to worship there. The whole church joined me. The irony of it was, the same pressmen who were saying about this guy that they have scandalized, they are the ones who came and took pictures of the new church. And the remnants in the other church were just about 10. And that day, I registered PCEA Nema, so that there will be no relationship with Peace USA.
Did they unfreeze the accounts for Ushindi to date?
No, because the case was going on. They only accepted to come and sit with us that we talk when the money was done, because it was paying rent to a building that is not being used. But we were done and we left.
So
everything.
So that's the most difficult part of it, of starting the ministry in the diaspora. But what are the joys?
The joys of starting the ministry in diaspora is when you identify, you know, ministry in the diaspora is personal. Personal in the sense that you are the minister. You're ministering to a people who, though they are social beings as far as our African culture is concerned, they are there by themselves. There are some who are there who don't have a single relative. So when they apply for jobs, some of them will write your name as the next of kin. When they go for medical care, they write your name as the healthcare proxy. And so you have to allow you to keep yourself in such a manner that you are accessible to them. The other thing is that you were saying about joys. So when you see that personal ministry and people really having a lot of faith in you. And by the way, when we registered PCA Nema, by the end of the year we had grown more than 3 times. And by the end of the year we had bought our own worship space that was later dedicated a year later by Moderator Mwamba. So the church grew. And we did thank God. The joys of having people who are coming on Sunday after being battered by the system out there and a lot of stress, but they come on Sunday to socialize and to worship God. That alone. And the knowledge that these people have come here, some did not expect to meet anybody they know, but they come with their faith from where they came.
And they find a community.
And then there is no interference now with the system. The system that we had before of the Peace USA, that made me feel that God has been with us and we have done the Lord's work. So we continued and the church grew, and we thank God for that. Now, US being a 24-hour economy, you know, for every minute of the 24-hour day, there is a group of people that is awake. So as a minister, you have to be accessible to the members, not through the elders, directly. To the being accessible to the elders.
How do you sleep? How do you rest?
For 24 hours. They will call you even at 1 a.m. or even 3 a.m. Because some of them were not Presbyterians when they came there. And even those that were Presbyterians here, they were Sunday school kids, and now they are adults. They don't know the system of calling your elder before you go to the minister. They know he is my pastor.
They call direct.
So they call direct.
In any case, you are more or less their first relative.
Yes, I am their first relative, literally. And the reason why they call you, especially at night, now, let me give you a case in point. A member of the family goes to the hospital in the morning here and finds that their mother or dad died at night. And their sister or brother is in Boston. So after they cry, by 9 a.m. they are calling first their people in diaspora. And the person they are calling there is being called, the person may be at work, and it is 1 a.m. So who is the first person to call where they are crying? The pastor.
Their pastor.
Many times you have to wake up and go and get them from work because they can't drive home. And so many crises that happen at night. And you are the first point of call.
Responder,
because they depend upon you for almost anything. And that's where most of the ministers who have gone to the diaspora sometimes have failed. When you don't open yourself to be accessible to your members. Yes.
Now, looking at, you started your ministry, first Lari, then Nakuru, then Tomotomo, then you left. Then you have served in the diaspora for a long time. Considering your call and having served specifically in the diaspora, what reflections would you make?
Reflections in terms of diaspora ministry.
Yeah,
for one.
And in terms of fulfilling your own call, did the ministry in diaspora specifically fulfill your call?
Yes.
Assuming, God forbid,
yes,
you are to stand before God, you are to die today and go before God.
Yes.
Do you think he would tell you, welcome home, faithful servant?
The one thing that I am really grateful for is when you go to a place that there was no church and establish a worshiping community. When you look at the people, the Kenyans that have gone there, you see like the way Jesus saw like sheep without a shepherd.
Yeah.
When you offer yourself to bring them together into a worshiping community, when you establish a church that is not just for this day and this year, but a church that will outlive you, the church that will be there even way beyond your stay in that country, you can say before God, I've served.
I've served.
Yes.
And why did you leave the US? Because, I mean, presumably you are at the peak. But you live at the peak and come to start.
For one, there's one thing that I had purposed and I agreed with God. I'll never retire in the diaspora. But I told God to use me for the time that I'm there. I established that church, and not just that church, several churches in the diaspora. When I realized that I now have come to the point of preparing to exit, I filed for Rev.Dr. Mushina, and he came and became my associate minister. 2 years down the line, Rev.Dr. comes to study. And when he came, one of the requirements of a doctor of ministry is that you be practicing somewhere. So we agreed that because we were having members coming from far and wide, we divided the parish into two. So we gave one part to Akava to continue the studies and practicing. In that part, we gave him 2 small churches. And then we were left with the Reverend Dr. Mushina. At exactly 5 years after Dr. Mushina came, I gave a notice of resignation.
But now not to move to the next building.
Not to the next building,
but to
now to come back to Kenya. I have always prepared myself holistically about my coming back. And I could be the only PCA minister in the diaspora, and especially in the US, who never disconnected himself with the PCA. In this sense, whenever I came here and there was a presbytery meeting in Tomotomo, I would attend the presbytery meeting. I used to ensure that I come for every GSC meeting and GA meetings, just to maintain that connection. I have fought for the recognition of the churches in the diaspora from the PCA. I fought for the creation and implementation of the overseas presbytery for many years. I can say I did my work.
What is missing? What is the missing link? Because as you have said, there is a disconnect between the diaspora and the PCA. What's the missing link?
There is no missing link. It's only that we take a long time. Sometimes the decision-making process of the PCA is very slow. What to us if we have among the officials of the GA one dissenting voice, because they have to be united to implement that. And I can tell you, in every administration, there has always been a dissenting voice. And that is why it has never been implemented. The motion, the agreement, and the vote to implement an overseas presbytery has been discussed and passed, that resolution, by 3 general assemblies in my presence. And we wait for implementation.
Never happens.
Never happens. And even now, I could see signs of it being implemented any time, but now I don't think so.
We are people of hope.
Yes,
in your lifetime.
In my lifetime, I would really thank God. The reason that I hope and pray that this can be done is because of the potential. And giving the Presbyterians that have gone to the diaspora a sense of belonging. I could be the only minister who has been supporting the PCA church from diaspora, sending financial support and other forms of support to the church here. hoping that that can be recognized and we can see the need to have those people in the fold. It has not happened, but I'm still hopeful.
We are people of hope.
The only thing is that I would not have delayed until my retirement age comes while I'm still there. One of the things I noticed is, because I ministered to the church in Boston for 18.5 years, I started noticing that there are some people who come to church because of Karimi. And then I realized there was a danger. I may go to heaven and my God tells me, I gave you a church and you made it yours. No. I decided to step out so that people can come to church.
Had you gone that way, you would be like the preachers we are now investigating.
I'm not one of them. I'm not like them. So.
Now, two more things.
Yes.
Besides ministry, you also have published a book.
Actually, 2.
Oh, 2?
Yes.
Oh, I know Burning Yet Not Consumed.
Burning Yet Not Consumed is a book that was a product of my doctoral thesis. And that came because when I was a minister in Nakuru, a very young minister, and because of the challenges that were there, I worked and overworked myself. So I remember one time we went to the NCCK General Assembly at Kanamai in Mombasa. And I had one of my colleagues who was my roommate. We would finish the business and go to the swimming pool. And I would not last in the swimming pool for 10 minutes. And by 9 p.m., I was in bed, sound asleep. And I can't wake up in time in the morning. It went on for 2-3 days. And this guy tells me, stress. That stress was looking for me. You know, as a water technician, the only time before then that I had heard about stress was when we were calculating the stress factor of iron beams and steel bars at the Kenya Water Institute. So now one day this guy tells me there is stress in human beings. And I asked myself, what is this? And I prayed that if I ever get a chance to do some research, I would want to research on stress and stress management in ministry. And that became the topic of my doctoral research. Thereafter, I converted the thesis into that book, Burning Yet Not Consumed, in reference to the ministers who are working like a burning bush, but they are still not consumed. They are going on and on and on. And
the second one? The
second one is what I published about 2 years ago. Infant baptism.
Yes.
Demystifying the sacrament.
Yes.
Because it has been a confusion to so many people and Christians in the church today.
Yes.
So,
thank you for publishing.
Yes.
Now, finally,
yes,
to your baby.
Yes.
And the one you're very passionate about.
Yes.
The legend.
The legend. Yes.
Legends are people who, legends of Rwanda Magere, those were stories told of long time ago. But you chose to take a different approach. So why? And what is legend?
Okay.
Yes, you had better take a sip because this is where it gets hot.
Yes. When I went to the US, one of my mentors, I called him from the US and told him, we left for the US in a hurry. I didn't have time to tell you that we have left. Said I heard about it and I really thanked God for that. But for us, we've been told to stay home, to retire. And I was wondering whether ministry has retirement. So, and that minister never lasted long. And then maybe 15 years down the line, I came and we were discussing another friend of mine who was also a colleague, a senior minister, who had retired, but he was pleading to continue working pro bono without pay. And then at some point the presbytery said, no, you have to retire. And then he also never lived long.
Passed on.
And then when I was reflecting on those two incidents, I realized that we need to come to the point whereby we demystify retirement. We talk about it openly. And also discuss with the retired ministers so that everybody, those of us that are in active ministry, can get to understand that there is life after retirement. And again, for you to retire, there has to be some time of preparation. It is a process. So God helped me to come up with this program. And the idea to deal with the Regents, interviewing those that have retired, getting to understand from where they are, so that you see they prepare themselves by building their own homes, and they're involved in farming and other economic pursuits. And their stories be told, so that those of us that are in active ministry can learn from them and also long to be there and realize that we are not being pushed out. It is a time that you can also continue enjoying life. So when I thought about that, I decided to come up with that program, and I called it The Legends. And I have been interviewing ministers, retired ministers in their home settings, recording their stories. So I must say, it is a good baby. I love the baby, and I enjoy it.
It's growing.
So as I record, and I do those recordings privately with a private camera crew, I give the recordings to CAC TV, because this is about PCA ministers. Air it to the members of the PCA. So when I came back and there was some delay in my posting, I was feeling that I don't need to be posted. I have a ministry in this.
You're already,
It's keeping me busy right now because I have a parish. Sometimes I lack times to do the recordings. And right now the episodes had ended, and we didn't have new episodes because I didn't have time during the close of the year activities and the beginning of the year activities to do more recordings. So it's something that keeps me very busy. I love it. I enjoy it. I learn from these ministers. Sometimes I'm challenged when I'm interviewing them. And I feel I would like to be like these guys.
Now, having interviewed several legends, two questions come into mind. One, considering the current direction as a church we are taking, these men and women, the legends, served in big areas without the resources we have.
Yes. Yes.
Comparing to the current generation of ministers, so many resources, small areas. Are we as effective as them?
Probably yes, probably no. But there are some of us who, in our own appearances and approaches to ministry, seemingly are not serious with the ministry.
Could it be that the comfort provided has been too much, that we forget?
Probably yes. Because when you listen to the stories of the Regents and you hear somebody had a parish with the congregations that are running from Kisumu to Kakamega and all those areas, and they would go 2 or 3 days before so that they can hold a worship service. And some, like a minister who was in one of the outreaches in Rift Valley, who told me a long time when I was posted to Rift Valley, that he used to go to the outreach. He had 16 congregations spanning, I think, 3 districts, and he was using a bike. Some of the stories you hear, you ask yourself, what have we done to sacrifice for the ministry? What have I done? So it is a challenge. And yet, again, as we share with the Regents, we get to know a lot of things that we did not know. Like I was, there was an interview with the Rev.Dr. Who actually made me come to understand that he was a missionary to Kibwezi. When we were dealing with the centennial celebrations, the name of Rev.Dr. never featured. And I have never thought about him from that point of view. I've only known him in other presbyteries. But he gave me another side of mission work that needs to be recorded by the PCA for the sake of posterity. Yes. So these are some of the things that I'm running. They are very important stories. And actually, for the members of the PCA getting to know their ministers, their retired ministers, their, and the work that they did.
The 2 stories that triggered the legends, one is the 2 stories in mind. Could it be that the church provides too much comfort so that the ministers don't prepare for retirement? Or it gives too much security?
Well, I came to learn from one of the Regents sometimes back, something that I didn't know, that previously in the 60s and in the 70s, the people that joined the ministry in the early 70s, they were never told that there was retirement. They were never told.
So they never prepared?
They never prepared because they knew once in the ministry, always in the ministry. They were never told about retirement. They only came to learn about retirement thereafter. So that could be a problem, that some people never knew that they would retire at some point. While at the same time, the issue of comfort, you see, ministers live in the comfort of the parish manses, provided for. And if you're not prepared for the fact that after retirement you will go to your home, you may end up failing to prepare that home. So that when you retire, you have nowhere to go.
You have no place.
You have no place to go.
So one of the stories,
and that one, again, the issue of regents and the need to discuss that and to prepare for that also came up because of my experience as a very young minister in Nakuru, settling my family in a rented house in Nakuru and buying all these household items. Yes.
Now, having spoken for that long, what would be your closing thoughts? Because, I mean, it has been a journey.
Yes.
One of your youth ministry, then being posted in Nakuru, and you are not even ordained, and the conflict, that shock of being introduced, then the statement of your son going to the US, the joys and the pains, coming back. But had you forgotten Kikuyu?
No.
But you came back.
Yes.
How
even my son speaks Kikuyu.
Ah.
Yes.
You taught him?
Yes.
Na vile sisi wenye tuko huku tunashindwa kufunza watoto.
Yeah, he speaks Kikuyu.
What would be your reflection of your life this far?
My thought about the church is that, one, we have to always remember that the church is a bride of Christ. Don't kill yourself because of somebody's bride. That is one. The second thing is that we have to remember that there were so many people that God would have called, but He called you and I. Let us consistently and continuously listen to the one who called us and seek to do what the one who called us wants for His church. The other thing is that never expect so much from the church, because we were called to give to the church, and the Lord gives to us. When we expect a lot from the church, that's where we focus so much on what we can gain and what we can be paid and stuff like that. We can still do, one of the things I've learned from the regents is that you can still do better and retire honorably, even though you do not have a lot of financial resources. I have never depended on the church. For those 3.5 years that I was not being paid in the US, I just looked for a teaching job at a college. And I was teaching and serving the church. And I did my own works in the US. For all the years I've been there, and the sessions there can testify, I've never pushed for a review of my pay. And I've never asked what I'm being paid. When they tell me you'll be paying this, that is what I take. And so I have experienced God blessing me and helping me to grow and to move from one level to the other. He surprised to our needs. But when we look at the church that we are in today, you have seen it being, there are so many questions that are arising in terms of our ministry. And one is tempted to ask, are we still responsive to God? Are we still listening to God? Because God is always speaking. God is able to tell you, hey, Daktari, stop what you're doing in that parish. Are we listening? And then there is listening and obeying. If I was not listening to God, I would never have left Boston. But I felt God telling me, this is the time to go. This is the time to go. And I could not go against that call. And when I came here, even when there was some resistance in terms of my being posted, I felt God telling me, there is work for you to do. Surprisingly, the months I stayed without being in a parish, I was busy almost every weekend, being invited to parishes and to train leaders and to preach. And the weekdays I was doing the regents. And even today, if I were to ask for a retirement, I still feel there is work to do.
There is more than enough.
Because in a ministry, you don't do what is given to you. You look for work among the people. And there's a lot in the ministry.
You pursue your calling.
You pursue your call, regardless. And don't wait for the gallery to say that you are doing good. Just go. Some people want to go where they are appreciated. And where people say you are doing good. No. Do it, and do it for God. And God will never let you down.
Now, seeing that I'm younger than you, I hope one day to come and serve you Holy Communion when you're old.
Watch out for the prayers you think.
When you're very old. Yes, I hope to. But also, hopefully in those days when you are really old, I don't know how long you want to live. I hope to live to 94.
Yeah, probably the same.
But when you are old and you are dead, what do you hope to be written on your tombstone?
He listened, he served his God. And one of I have one principle that I have that has really helped me in my ministry and in my relationships with the people. I came to realize when I was doing stress management is that one of the causes of stress is when we harbor hatred and anger. I have no enemies. I never hate anyone. It does not matter what you do to me. You know, if those people that took me to court and scandalized me, you ask the people in the Boston, I'll tell you, whenever we met in court, I hugged them. I have no enemies. And I never get angry, regardless of what you do to me. I have that motto, never let them pull you so low as to hate them. By Booker Washington. I changed that into now what I have today. Never let them pull you so low as to act like them. If they are mad at you, you don't have to act like them. No. You have to, you have a life. Yes. And you need to train yourself to always think positively, ever smiling, and knowing even though there is this challenge here, it will not be forever. It's just for temporary. It's temporary. Life goes on.
Wow. Thank you very much. And it has been an honor interviewing the host of the legend.
Yes.
I pray to God that indeed, as you have confessed, when your journey ends, it shall be said, he listened and he served.
Yes.
So thank you very much,
and
keep the fire burning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we need to let the church be the church.
Yes.
I like that rallying call from the very Reverend Bernard Mwindi. Let the church be the church.
God's bride shall always be.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
God bless you, and thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I'll return the shoe to you.
Viewers, see you in the next episode of The Legend. May the Lord bless you.
Thank you.